So yeah, welcome everybody. One of my favorite things that I do each month is catching up with Lee Roebeck here, who is just the most phenomenal mindset coach that certainly I've dealt with. And he is very famous for so many things as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Lee to introduce himself, and then I'm going to ping some people to start inviting them into the room. But also, just as a reminder that this is being recorded on Clubhouse, we're live on Facebook, but this will also go up onto YouTube. It should be by this afternoon. And then with time, we also break it down into smaller chunk size bits of video for those moments when you just want a 10 minutes here and there to really be inspired as well. So Lee, please go ahead and introduce yourself for anyone who perhaps doesn't know you yet.
Emma, really excited to be again with you again here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you're listening to from. And I just want to welcome you to today's Clubhouse session, Facebook Live, wherever you're catching us on YouTube. Emma and I are going to be sharing or talking about an idea that I promise you, my mentor used to call this the number one key to success, Bob Proctor. And Bob was known as America's greatest prosperity teacher. He said this was the key concept. He said, if you don't get this, you can forget everything else. And so I think this is really going to be a valuable session for you. Just a bit more about myself. My name is Lee, as Emma said, and I'm an abundance coach, a specialization around mindset. And what it is that I do is I help entrepreneurs remove money blocks and attract clients easily. And I work with entrepreneurs from all around the world. And these business persons are experiencing quantum leaps in their results because of the ideas that we teach. Thank you, Emma.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Lee. Okay, so let's jump into it. So just for those of you that don't know, Lee and I at the beginning of the year said that we were going to catch up over this year, sort of each month, and talk through the elements that we have both heavily studied around the works of Bob Proctor, and it inherently goes back to the huge book Think and Grow Rich. And I was a little bit shocked the other day. I was in a meeting and I said, who's read Think and Grow Rich? And nobody else had. I was like, no, you got to go and read it. That's a real worry. So I'm still spreading the word, but it really is a phenomenal book. So yes, definitely, if you haven't read it, go and get it. But yeah, and today is all about something called the impression of increase. And within my property business, I think alongside attitude, this is probably the second most powerful thing that I have implemented and have enjoyed. And actually, I do think is one of the things that's really changed my life, because I think how you interact with others changes the way you are. So that's my tuppence worth before we even start. But Lee, yeah, just explain a little bit more about this, because this was truly a kind of new concept for me. Not a new concept to be kind, but certainly thinking about it in this way. So yeah, it'd be great if you could just kind of introduce this concept.
So the impression of increase, which, like I said, for those of you that have just tuned in, like I said earlier, my mentor said this was the number one key to success, is the impression of increase. Now that's leaving everyone that you meet better off. Doesn't matter who you come in contact with, your intention should be to leave them better off. Now, how do you do that? You give them a compliment, right? But it's got to be a sincere and merited compliment. You know, look for something they do well and make them aware of it, or give money away, give someone a gap in traffic. I mean, there's so many ways you can open a figurative door for someone, and you can also, figuratively by opening an opportunity, a business opportunity, or connecting two people, you know, where you can see they can work together, or literally opening a door for someone, you know. There's just so many ways we do this. And I promise you, this is the number one key to success. And we want to form the habit of doing this, because like if you give money away once in a while, or when you got a bit extra, the good that's going to come back to you is going to be on a hit or miss basis. So it's going to happen now and again. Whereas if you form the habit, and that's why tithing, you know, is so powerful, where 10% of your income immediately gets given away, you know, because if you form the habit of it, you're going to have a steady flow of good that's coming back to you. So you want to leave everyone better off, basically, is what the key theme of today's discussion is. But Emma, if you don't mind, I'd like to start out by reading something to you, just something really short, to explain how this impression of increase works. Now, I'm going to read just 3 short paragraphs from this book. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, the book is called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. This was actually the book that inspired Rhonda Byrne to write that, or to create the hit runaway movie, The Secret, and to write the book. And chapter 14 in this book is called The Impression of Increase. And Wallace Wattles says here, he says, and I want you to listen to this real carefully. He says, increase is what all men and women are seeking. It is the urge of formless intelligence within them seeking fuller expression. The desire for increase is inherent in all nature. It is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. People seeking more food, more clothes, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure, increase in something, more life. Every living thing is under the necessity for this continuous advancement. Where increase of life ceases, dissolution and death set in at once. Man instinctively knows this, and hence he is forever seeking more. Now, you know, if we really buy into this idea, or accept the idea that every living thing has this desire for increase, then everyone that you come in contact with in your day, they are looking for increase. And if you have this ability to leave everyone better off than they found you, I promise you, people, Emma, and you've experienced this, right? I've experienced this, you know, internalizing this habit or this concept. People are going to be looking forward to you coming back. You know, it's, if you think of the stars in your social circles or even in business, you know, it's almost like they've got something special built into their character. You know, it's like they just leave everybody a better off, and they're really a pleasure to be around. And this is something, you know, we could also call this personal magnetism. You know, it was something that I thought only certain individuals had. But, you know, after studying this material and after being, you know, doing this work with Bob, I've realized that it's personal magnetism is something that anybody can develop if they're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, I absolutely love this, and it's actually a really good one, because sometimes with all these things you do these activities, but I love to come and readdress it to kind of bring it back up into the forefront of your mind. And I mean, certainly things like letting people out in the car. I mean, that can sometimes take a bit of effort, but it is something that I really do. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I really wish I'd let that person in. And I'm like, I'm going to make an active choice now to do that. And one of the things I have really noticed, so part of my way to grow my business is obviously networking. So I do a lot of property network, and I also do a lot of business networking. And I know, Lee, you and I have I don't know whether you're in, but we've been in the BNI. And one of the things that I am at the moment is I'm actually it's a terribly grand title, but I'm the president of the chapter. But it just means that I have to organize the meeting on the day, keep the rabble in order, I always say. And what's really interesting is that I've never been a retiring person, but I have to, or not, I don't have to, but when you have visitors coming to any group, you want to go and welcome them, don't you? And so I obviously go out of my way to be extra, welcoming, and this is what I do, and genuinely so grateful that you're there. And the kind of appreciation of being recognized and being welcomed and being seen as somebody important in that room, the difference in those people is really special. And I feel like, to me, I look at it now as having something where I have a really fortunate position to be able to very quickly in a meeting walk over to people and make them feel really special in that moment. Now, obviously, everyone in our particular chapter are fantastic, and they always make people feel really welcome. But another part of that is where we currently meet is there's they make us bacon sandwiches. Yeah, so we also have a lovely platter of fruit and all this, but they make us bacon sandwiches. Anyway, the chap who runs this very big establishment there gets up really early on a Friday morning and makes us these bacon sandwiches. He's the CEO of this business, and he comes in and he makes us sandwiches. And he could easily just walk in and out, and people could just glance and think he's the janitor or the chef or whatever, and maybe not consider him to be who he is. And I find that really, one, very humbling that he's willing just to do whatever it takes to make his business successful. But two, I really, again, like taking that opportunity to really appreciate him and make him realize and take that bit of time. And not many people think of doing that. And it's not that they're bad or I'm good. There's no judgment. But it equally makes me feel really fantastic to show that gratitude. And it is a genuine gratitude. And it makes me think more about what he is doing, what his impact is on the widest field, by being so sort of selfless, really, in taking that. He could easily get somebody else to do it, but he's there. And also his daughter is there very often as well, so she's clearly learning this kind of skill of giving as well. So yeah, I mean, this is a tremendous topic, and certainly one that when you actively go out of your way, you realize that there's a lot of stuff and rubbish that we talk about, and if you cast those, what I would consider to be not particularly important things, the small shit, so to speak, and you just consider the good, it's a bit like of a morning, when I drive my daughter to school, we do our gratitude. And, there can be times when she's like, oh, I don't want to do it. And it's like, come on, let's do it. And it's just the process of doing these things that suddenly enable you to see things in a different light, and to see people perhaps differently, and especially people that you perhaps have challenges in getting along with. When you start talking to them in a different way and seeing them in a different way, things can really change.
Absolutely, Emma. You give them a good reputation to live up to, right? If you see the good in someone and you let them know about it, they almost feel amped to live that out more and to do better, So it's really good to recognize people for the good they do. But this man at your BNI, the venue, he sounds like a remarkable human being, because it's been said that the greatest amongst thee shall be the servant. And it doesn't matter in which shape or form we serve. And this is why this impression of increase is so powerful, because the more good you put out, the more you serve, the more you help, all of that comes back to you. And the thing is, you align yourself with universal law. You align yourself with the laws that govern the universe. And one of them, the law of receiving, says in order to receive, you've got to give. Now, that giving might not be money, but time and service. Often people are wondering about the amount of money they earn. I want to earn this amount. We've got all these lofty, ambitious goals, which are good. But the thing is, we get so tuned into that, we worry about the money and we forget the service. You only earn money through service. So, even if the going is slow initially, focus on the serving, and then the channels will open up in terms of you getting the good that you deserve back. An example I can use in terms of your journey to property success, is you might be phoning landlords, to rent their places, to rent it further, or whatever your strategy is. And you going in with the idea that you just want to, manage their portfolio of property, which is good. And, I've got a service that's really going to help this investor. But the thing is, we go in with it with the attitude of what I'm going to get out of it. If you go into that conversation, those calls that you're making to these investors, to these landlords, if you go into that conversation with how can I serve this person? How can I leave this person better than I found them? Now, it could be by sharing a piece of important information that they might need, maybe a change in legislature that affects the landlord, or, maybe just connecting them with someone, even if that landlord doesn't choose to go with you in terms of managing their property, at least you've left them better off. And you do that with everyone that you come across. I promise you, you're going to have such a strong, because, Ralph Waldo Emerson said the law of laws, number one was the law of cause and effect. And if you just keep serving, you just keep putting good out, the effect has to take care of itself. So, I love this story you shared about this man. Sounds like a man I'd like to meet, Emma. It just, service is everything.
Yeah, and actually that was a very new one to me as well, and I hadn't really noticed looking at the number of people. So when you look at, those that are really successful, as you say, it's the ones who serve the most people. And I know it's really kind of flipped it around, whether you like Amazon or Tesla or whatever, or somebody locally to you, it's the people that they affect the most. And in fact, I can see Jason is in our audience, and he is so incredibly generous with his time. He's gone through a time, he's done incredible things in property, in short leases. But now you can really see he's genuinely giving back. That he does offer for you to pay for his time, but again, it's kind of he offers so much in giving, and the more people that you reach, I've certainly seen that it's so rewarding to come back. And actually that goes back to a point that you've raised with me before, Liz. I used to go through a time of actually writing down each day how many people I felt I'd helped. And actually, I haven't done that for a while, and I will, look at doing that again, because it really enables you to then see over a day. So even if you're sat at home most of the day, which, for instance, I am today, but I'm here, with you doing this, and I may help a certain number of people today. But I really look as well doing these sessions, because I'm so passionate about property, I'm so passionate about mindset, that this is what I'm putting out there to help more and more people. So just because we've done this recording today, it means that can help more people in the future. And obviously this kind of information is generational as well. So it's looking at what are those ways that you can help more people. And actually it even has affected my planning and my business plan going forward, so that I can look at different ways that I can help more people going forward. Because I've certainly felt that there's been times business-wise this year that I've been a little bit property wise, just me and my business partner, we had sort of things that needed to be done, and we did bring other people in, but it didn't quite flow. Whereas now we've got a business model where we're actually bringing lots of collaboration, lots of people together. We're forming this group of investors. I'm also working with other people outside of that who want to bring sort of deals to us. And suddenly it just feels so much more natural, and things are flowing more easily. I mean, do I see that there could be, you know, bumps in the road? Absolutely. But it just feels so great. And in fact, it was so lovely the other day to say to somebody, I just can't believe how fortunate I am. I literally get paid for talking about what I really love, which is property. I get paid for doing that. I mean, how amazing is that? And I just feel so fortunate to do that. But yeah, in this process, seeing how you can affect and offer this increase, I suppose, to as many people as you can.
That's really what you just mentioned earlier, Emma. It's really a good idea at the end of your day, you know, maybe in your diary or wherever you write your notes, you know, maybe jot down something. How many people did I serve today? Because, you know, if you want to put this law of cause and effect firmly behind you, you know, look to the cause. How many people did I serve today? And track that. Like, I know last week, Thursday, I done a webinar for the Artisan Business Lab. There were 28 people online. I served 28 people in. You know, regardless of whether anything comes from it or not, I know the energy is put out. And here's the thing, energy out equals energy in, right? And that's exactly what we're talking about here with this universal law. You know, if you're okay with it, Emma, I'd just like to share a story with our audience, you know.
Absolutely.
Our mentor, Bob Proctor, he was the master at this, leaving everyone better than he found them. And I met him for the first time in September 2017. And I flew into Toronto a couple of days earlier. You know, just I wanted to do a couple of tours. So I went up to Niagara Falls and, you know, a couple other things in Canada. And at the hotel, so I arrived there 2-3 days early. And at the hotel, I asked the porters, you know, because I was excited to meet the man. I'd been studying his material for a year. I was really, you know, amped on meeting him. And I asked the porters, have you ever met Bob Proctor? And never forget, it was a white Canadian man and another man from Barbados, Lee Roebeck, and the Canadian man, his name was Philip. And I asked him, you know, have you ever met Bob Proctor? And they said, yes. And I said, you know, what can you tell me about him? And Philip said, he's the best tipper in this hotel. And he said, you know, Bob Proctor had been coming and doing seminars there since the 60s, when his son Brian was just a little boy. I think Brian is 60 today, but and you know, I asked Philip, I said, you know, how much does he tip? And he said, you know, if I were to tell you, I'd have to pay tax on it. You know, so it's like how we leave these seeds of good behind us. You know, I'll never forget my very first encounter with Bob. The seminar started on a Sunday morning. And I was walking around the lobby looking for the breakfast area, or, you know, the dining area where breakfast was served. And yeah, I walked into him, but obviously, you know, knowing who he is, and I mean, he's well known, fairly well known. The movie, the hit runaway movie, The Secret, which he was a big part of, that reached 500 million people around the world. So, you know, Bob Proctor is well known. And I didn't want to impose myself on him. I'd seen him, but I started walking away. And, you know, he had seen I had registered because I had a name tag for the seminar. And he came up, you know, he put his hand out and he said, good morning, Lee, where are you from? And I said, you know, I'm from South Africa. And he said, and then I asked him, you know, have you ever been to South Africa? And he said, yes, you know, I've been to Johannesburg and I've been to Cape Town. And I asked him, you know, what did you think of the place? Because, you know, as South Africans, we think we're fairly warm people. You know, that's always up for debate. But that was kind of what I was alluding to. And I asked him, what did you think of the people? And I'll never forget this. For as long as I live, we came to the top of a staircase, and he turned, he looked me square in my eye, and he said to me, and it literally felt, and this is how he had this ability to leave people with increase. It literally felt like I was the only person in that hotel. It felt like he was staring into my soul. And he said to me something that was so diplomatic. He said, when you get past all of the beliefs, all of the negative programming, the paradigms, we all essentially the same, and we have the same potential. Now, I don't know if he wasn't overly impressed with the kind of poverty that he was seeing, in Africa, in South Africa, but I found his answer to be so diplomatic. And then 40 minutes into the seminar starting that morning, he walks up to me, and he had this ability, because he had a strong intuition, this ability to read people. And he started talking about me in front of this audience. There were about 300 people in the seminar room. And, just like you shared earlier, Emma, he seen something in me, or he gave me a good reputation to live up to. And in front of this huge group of peers, he said, this man is the most persistent man you'll find. If he commits to something, he'll run through a wall to make it happen. And it was just something, it was an idea that he had planted or made me consciously aware of that I really want to live up to for the rest of my days. So, he was a master at doing that. And you don't necessarily need to just do it in like I said, giving money away, or, giving compliments, also in seeing something in someone else that they don't see in themselves, and then making them aware of it to give them a good reputation to live up to. Really powerful stuff. And I think if you and I do this, if we build this ability into our personality to leave others better off, my view on this is you'll never want for money in your life. If you have the ability to just serve and give and leave everyone that you come in contact in your day to leave them better off. That's my view on this topic, Emma. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I suppose it has, a lot of different words, a lot of different descriptions. I kind of see it slightly in kind of pay it forward. But what I know I have seen since I started implementing this is it almost takes that onus off of you and onto others. And I know, for instance, kids, girls, especially girls, who maybe, look at themselves, they maybe get a little bit towards anorexia, all of those things. It's very much thinking of themselves. It's kind of like, this is my issue with me, and all of these kind of things. And I think we tend to live a lot in our own worlds, and sometimes that's not very healthy. And certainly when I started this journey, I call him the little black dog that sits on my shoulder. And we've all got them, haven't we? And it yappers in my ear, you're not good enough, you're an imposter. What are you doing here today with Lee? What makes you somebody who could interview? All these crazy things. And I like doing that because I just kind of brush him off. It's like, I can even swear at him, shove off, go away. But what this does is it actually takes you from yourself. So when you're meeting somebody, rather than saying, oh, I'm meeting Lee, or I'm meeting the estate agent, what are they thinking of me? Oh, they're probably thinking that they think that I don't have the money. I haven't got the right shoes on. I haven't got this. I haven't got enough experience. I don't have the money at the moment. How on earth would anyone lend me the money? So all of these things that you're going through your head, they're all in you, aren't they? And what I found really incredible is to go into that estate agency with no thoughts of yourself, but actually, what can I do to make them feel better? And it really is incredibly powerful to just remove this whole BS that we have going on in our head, and just change that to being, how can I as you say, serve, help, make somebody feel better. And there's nothing better, is there, than meeting somebody and seeing a smile on their face. And I do this all the time. And in fact, it's a little bit of a game, especially somebody who looks really miserable. I just go out of my way to walk nearby and just give them a really massive smile. And some people, there is almost that look of a bit of a shock as they look at you. And, you know, and I don't do it in a kind of, you know, I really make an effort to do it from a position of just joy and love, and not in a nasty way. And yeah, that is really amazing. And especially, I don't know, I have a propensity for older people who are maybe walking along on their own, and I don't know, I have a preconceived thought of what they might be doing, and you smile at them, and yeah, the joy that you get from somebody who responds to that smile, and especially an older person, because let's be fair, you know, faces drop a bit, don't they? So it's actually a real effort, isn't it, to smile. And that real kind of change from, you know, just perhaps a normal look to this big smile in response. And I always think, if you can, as I say, whether it's an estate agent or your granny or somebody in the shop or whatever, you never know their position, you never know what they're doing. Like that chap who made the bacon sandwiches, like there was a chap when I was getting some paint for our hotel, and I'd been in a few times, and I was always really friendly and chatty. Anyway, it was a particularly big order, so there was quite a lot of chatting. Anyway, we started on, you know, I was really genuinely interested about him and his life. And he had done some most incredible things in his life. He was an extremely accomplished, successful man who had chosen in his twilight years to go and mix paint in a big store. And he was perfectly fine with that. You know, he had villas all over the world, and he just really enjoyed doing that. Now, I could have really made an assumption about this particular man, and I did really, you know, I judged a book by its cover. But in the fact of trying to, you know, leave him with an impression of increase, I learned so much about him. And I was suddenly like, wow, that's just so amazing. And that's been the big change for me, changing it from being all about me or to all about them. And that has been a huge shift, and has enabled me. I mean, you know, of course I still have thoughts, but I'm aware of them, and I really quash them. But the more you spend wanting to serve others, thinking of others, and even now I'm thinking of, you know, my clients that I'm talking about, and I'm thinking that I can actually do more to help them. Because sometimes, and I know you're a great one with this, Lee, you genuinely believe that if somebody doesn't sign up to your course or to something like that, that you've let them down. And that's so refreshing, you know, because you can genuinely help them. And I'm the same. Like, I'm talking to a number of people at the moment who want to start out on their property journey, and they want to get money coming in, but they're really frightened. So what do? It's like they jeopardize themselves. And it's kind of like, what can I do to help them work out that path to get on that journey, to achieve those goals, to do those things? So yeah, incredibly powerful, Lee.
Emma, what you discussed there is, it's a key psychological concept with regards to leaving others better off. We've got to get ourselves out of the way. We've literally got to get ourselves out of the way. You know, a lot of people, and let's use speaking as an example. So public speaking, you know, that's kind of my wheelhouse. So, you know, let's relate it to what you shared there. A lot of people will get on stage in front of a group, an audience, but they are so worried about, am I going to say the right words? What are they going to think about me? You know, do my lips look dry? You know, all this hogwash going through our heads. Whereas you owe your audience a couple of things. Show up on time. Make sure you're prepared. You know, dress appropriately for the event, and give them value. Outside of that, when you step onto that platform, put all of your attention on them. Do your work beforehand, but when you're there, don't think at all about yourself. Think about them. You know, really focus your attention on them, because when you do that, then you can serve the audience. I mean, and they can feel that energy. I promise you, people can feel that energy. You can feel someone who's there to serve you or someone that's there to take from you. It's an energetic thing. I promise you, we can feel it. So, it's a key concept of a salesperson, of a speaker. That landlord that you speak into, to bring their property onto your books, they can feel if you coming in with an attitude of service or with an attitude of getting. And the thing is, you've got to get yourself out of the way. You've got to stop your energy from being inverted and look at just serving, and they can feel that. And I promise you, you form the habit of doing that, and you're going to sign up a lot more people in terms of what you're looking for, if you get the attitude right in terms of entering into this conversation.
Yeah, and in fact, that was really interesting. And I suppose it was, through the work that I've been doing with you, etc. I was asked to speak at a networking event the other day, and looking back on it, it is all about, isn't it? I was just thinking, what is it? Where could I feel add most value to those people in the room? Because I know that the gentleman who runs it, he's a real kind of idol of mine in the property world. He's been there literally since, I think it was like one of the first property networking meetings. I met him. He was so, oh my gosh, so generous in his time, just, so welcoming of a complete, wide-eyed newbie. And now it had got to the stage where he'd asked me to speak, years later. I mean, that was just amazing. And he said, I really want to know, more about you. And I was kind of like, yeah, I can understand the benefits of that. And I will include that. But I've really got some information, and I wanted to share all about automation and systemization, because it's genuinely changed my life for the better as well. And I said, but I really want to cover off this. And yeah, so I obviously prepared it and presented it, and it was great. And the feedback from that is so lovely, and people have actually put, some of these things I can see either have or will change my life just by implementing a few little things. And it's not like it's a expensive thing. It was just little things that you can do to just let things go and maybe get others to do it, or get an app to do it, or whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's kind of looking at how you can give that value, even if it's on the phone to a prospect, even if it's at a talk or a speech, or even if it's like now, this is why I love doing these things, is, giving back, even if it changes one person's life. Well, that's totally worth doing, isn't it?
If you've improved the life of one person in your audience, Emma, it's worth it. It's really worth it. If there's 200 or 100 people in that audience, but what you've got to remember, behind that one person are 10 people. And if you improve, that one person's life by your suggestions, it really has a ripple effect. It really has a ripple effect. And I think I've shared this with you in the past, Emma. I've got 9 suggestions because, it's easy to talk about this idea of, the number one key of success being leaving others with the impression of increase. Anybody that's joining us here today, I'm hoping that we're leaving you with increase. And I really sincerely hope that, Emma, let me try and maybe leave you with a bit of increase. I love your energy today. And I'm not just saying that your energy is really wonderful. And I'm enjoying this conversation with you today. But here are 9 action steps. These are steps I've cataloged because this is where the rubber hits the road, right? We want to have ways in which to do this and inform the habit of doing it. So some of these might seem simple, but I'm going to run through them with you. And if you've got a pen and paper handy, jot these down and see how good you are at this, or where you can improve. So number 1 on this list is give a genuine compliment. So give someone a sincere and merited compliment. Don't deal in you know, something as a farce, or, you know, anybody can see through, you know, just an empty or hollow compliment. You want to make it sincere and merited. Number two is open a door for someone. I mentioned this earlier. And this door can be literal or figurative. You can open a door for someone going to your networking meeting this Friday at that venue, Emma, open a door. Or you can figuratively open a door for someone that really is looking for an opportunity, or at that networking meeting is saying, you know, please connect me with this particular person, and go out and find that connection for that person. Figuratively open a door. Remember, that might take some effort on your part, but the good you put out has to come back. It's law. Number three is give someone a gap in traffic. That's such a simple idea, but you drop in, you know, just the seed of good. Number four.
And I think, sorry, Lee, I've got to put that in. I think for a lot of people, and certainly it did for me when I started doing it more, there were moments of almost like teeth grinding. You know, it initially started off by just going, I'm going to let them out, I'm going to let them out. Whereas now I actually really love it. And whereas I used to search for their thank you, you know, we sort of say thank you. Now I'm really accepting if they don't even seem to notice. And I'm kind of like, I'll then sort of think, oh, you know, clearly they were in a real hurry. They've got something on their mind. I'm so pleased I was able to give them an extra second in their journey. But that is something that, you know, may trigger you. It certainly did with me initially. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting to look at when you do these things, what it brings inside you. And then you can start sort of thinking through those things and working through those things.
Look, the truth of the matter, Emma, is if you give in to receive a compliment back, or you give in to receive some acknowledgement, or that person to do good for you, you essentially trading. You know, there's only one corner of the universe that you can control, and that's yourself. And your job is simply to put the good out. I like the fact that you've evolved in that, you know, action or behavior, because whether they acknowledge you or not in terms of the good you put out, you've taken care of what you needed to take. You've put the good out. That's it. You know, if we're getting into the idea of giving money or giving something away to someone so that they can give it back, you trade it. You're not giving, you trading. And once you receive your good back there, you've earned your reward, right? Whereas you want to get this universal power firmly behind you, and that's where you give with total disregard with when and how and where your good is going to come back to you from. So give someone a gap in traffic. Number four on this list is smile with a stranger. Smile with anyone for that matter, like you're doing with predominantly old people, right, Emma? You wanna, I mean, it might just be that smile from one person that shifts the rest of the quality of their day. I mean, you know, some people, and life can get heavy sometimes, right? And I mean, your smile might just change the atmosphere of their day. Number five on this list on how you can leave others with the impression of increase is give money away. Give money away. This is one of the quickest ways to shift your beliefs around money. Now, on point five here, I want to just throw in a story, Emma. I want to tell you one of the proudest moments of my life. One day, it was in April 2015, I phoned my mother at work, and I said to her, "Hi, Mom, can you speak?" And she said, "You sure?" And I said, you know, I was thinking about doing something really special for you this year for Mother's Day. And she said, like, what? And I said to her, you know, Mom, I'd really like to pay your mortgage off. You know, here in South Africa, we call it a bond. But I said to you, know, I'd really like to pay your bond off, your mortgage off. And I promise you there was a silence on the other end of the phone for about 20 seconds. And when she came back, she said, are you sure? I mean, of all things, she asked me, are you sure? And I said to her, you know, yes, I'm sure, Mom. So I said, you know, send me your bank account details and I'll transfer the money later today. And her colleague at work, Raylene, emailed me a short while later, and she said in the email, she said, "No, Lee, this is one of the most beautiful things I've heard. You know, you've made my friend so happy to the point where she wants to cry." Now, I'm not sharing that story to impress anyone on here with us. I really am not. That is a moment that will be forever etched in my memory. I think on my dying bed, you know, or in that last moment, this is going to be something that's going to play in my mind purely because of the joy that it gave my mother. You know, it's far better to give than it is to receive. Number 6, in terms of ways that you can leave others with increase, is acknowledge someone's effort. So look for something they do good. Acknowledge the effort they put in. And this could be your staff. It could be your kids. It could be your partner, your husband, or your wife. Acknowledge their effort. Number 7, point out how kind someone is. So when you see someone doing good or, you know, just being kind, point out how kind they are. Number 8, and this I think you mentioned earlier, Emma, is ask people that you interact with meaningful questions. So this is where we stop worrying about yourself. When you're in conversation with someone, ask them meaningful questions and then listen intently to their answers. You know, most people are listening to respond. What you want to do is listen to understand. Listen with your emotions. So I'll go through that one again because this is such a powerful one. It's one that I use, and it's so powerful in networking and meeting people. Ask people that you interact with meaningful questions and then listen intently to their answers. Don't listen to respond, listen to understand. I'll go one step further here on number 8. Do this. Everyone you meet, stamp MMFI on their foreheads. MMFI on their foreheads. And this is a concept that came from the great Dale Carnegie, the master of human relations. This MMFI, it stands for make me feel important. Make me feel important. Remember, your goal here with forming the habit of this is to leave everyone better off, right? To leave them with increase, and you do this by making them feel important. And then number 9, give of your time in service. And imagine how different your life will be a year from now if you form the habit of doing these 9 things automatically. Imagine how much happier you're going to be. You know, how you're going to feel energetically and vibrate. It's just going to put you in a wonderful feeling state if you are able to form the habit. And, you know, I'll just repeat again what we said earlier, what Emma and I shared earlier. You don't want to do this for a week or 2 or 4, you know, now and again. When you feel good, you know, you leave others better off or you serve others, because then the good that's going to come back to you is going to be on a hit or miss basis. You want to form the habit of doing these things, giving compliments, sincere compliments, giving money away, you know, listening intently to people, asking deep, meaningful questions, you know, acknowledging your staff's effort, your kids' effort, giving your money away, smiling with strangers, giving your time in service. You form the habit of doing all of these things. The good that's going to come back to you is going to come in an avalanche. I promise you that.
Wow. Yeah, that's so powerful, isn't it? And it's actually, because sometimes I know when I first started out, I tended to do, you know, the same kind of thing each time. And I think having that kind of list that, you know, you can constantly grow and look at ways each day that you can continue to do that. And one of the ones that I really loved, and I think it's a psychology thing, you know, whatever, wherever it comes from, is point 6 and 7. So acknowledge the effort that other people do, and point out kindness. So, you know, especially with kids, it's all about right and wrong, isn't it? And whether you like the education system or not, that is not life, for one, and it's not particularly healthy that you're right or you're wrong. And also, you know, with coaching, and I'm sure you're the same, Lee, as well, that it's the journey to get there. It's not necessarily the end result, because the end result can take your entire life. So if you're not acknowledging the path to get there, then it's a shame. And quite often that happens with people, isn't it? They'll say, I haven't achieved what I wanted, and so I've failed. And you're kind of like, wow, okay, well, let's go back and see what exactly you have achieved, because you've achieved so much, and you're literally probably about to make this big achievement, so to speak. So I love, especially around kids, and it was a lovely one, especially because, you know, the child, and then they come up to you with another picture or another mud pie, or it's like, oh, that's lovely, darling. And to be able to start thinking very differently is kind of like, wow, you've worked really hard on that, or you've really concentrated on that, or you've really you know, you've really thought through all those different colors. Suddenly makes them really think about what they have done and how they've done it, and not just what it looks like. Because I know I've got a bit of a perfectionist at times in my youngest daughter, and she'll be like screwing a bit of paper up, and I'll be like, oh, but I really love those colors, or, you know, and then suddenly she's kind of like, okay, yeah. And it's being open to doing that. And yeah, and definitely how lovely to point out when somebody does something kind. I mean, that is just a beautiful thing. And I think, again, really important in anything. And of course, we can all have moments when we don't do the right thing, but I do believe that, you know, you look at things from two sides, and this is a great one. You're always saying, you know, there's an up and there's a down, and there's a good and there's a bad in every single situation. And I've had something quite dramatic kind of happen to me recently, but I feel really proud I don't hold any kind of malice. And, you know, there's a particular person that has perhaps, with the way I am, I wouldn't have behaved that way. But it doesn't mean that the way they've behaved is right or wrong. It's just the way they've behaved with their situation at this time. Should I, you know, turn around and be angry about that? No. And I can see that they're working really hard. They're doing a lot of really positive things. They're helping a lot of people. So that's, you know, that's really amazing. And you have to kind of look at that. And I think having these tools can also help you look at things in that different way. So if something feels bad or wrong or not at the right time, there's always an opposite. And if you can look at that opposite as well, then that's really helpful. So yeah, I just absolutely love it. And I'd forgotten that MMFI, in fact, Lee, and I know we've talked about it a few times. And I did talk to my daughter about it, and, you know, sort of 5, she was a bit like, what are you talking about, Mum? But yeah, I think that one is really lovely, isn't it? Is you know, for everyone, how can you make them feel important? And I have seen a dramatic change in relationships when you take that on board.
You know, Dale Carnegie, who I mentioned earlier, you touched on something there that I just want to mention. You know, acknowledging someone's effort. You know, sometimes with your staff, you've got to have tough conversations, right? Where there's lack of performance in certain areas. But Dale Carnegie said, you know, you can cushion that. So look for something that they do really well. And when you start out the conversation with him, say, you know, James or Jim or whatever the person's name is, I really like how you, you know, these reports that you deliver on a weekly basis, the spreadsheets that you put together with the charts. I really love how detail-oriented you are and how you lay things out, you know, clearly for the entire team. I think you're doing a great job. However, we need to improve on this. So it's almost like it just makes it far more palatable and far more people are far more open and receptive to that instead of just coming out. So, human relations, and this is also what we're talking about here with impression of increase. It's really getting to deal with people in a way that makes them, leaves them better off. I mean, that's what we're talking about. But this is such a key concept to your success. It's such a key thing, habit for you and I to develop. This incident that happened to you recently, Emma, the richest man in the world in, I think, the 70s was a man by the name of an insurance man by the name of W. Clement Stone.
Yeah.
Some of you might be familiar with the name. He wrote a wonderful book, actually the best book I've ever read on attitude, by himself and Napoleon Hill. It's called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And W. Clement Stone had a habit of, when something bad happened, immediately he'd say, "That's good." And he'd start looking for the good in it. This has happened, you lost a job, that's good. Or, this opportunity has fallen through, that's good. And immediately start looking for the good in it. And that's all down to attitude, right? And here's the thing. If you're experiencing something really challenging, or you've missed an opportunity, and it's something that's kind of deflated you, I promise you there's good in it. People are so locked into what's been the wrong that's been done, or what they've missed out on, that they really work their way to the other side. And that's based on a law called the law of polarity. If you are going through something particularly challenging, when you are mentally able to extricate yourself and work your way to the other side, the win is huge if it's a big problem. If it's a small problem or small challenge, when you work your way to the other side, the win is equal and opposite. If you go and you study and you analyze the records of people who have accomplished great things, you'll often find that their story is littered with struggle and with challenge. But they were able to harvest the good, to say that's good, and immediately start looking for the good. And how can I benefit from this, even if it's the lessons or the wisdom, or whatever it is that's going to make you better the second time round, or when you go at it again.
Amazing. Well, goodness me, we are literally coming to the top of the hour. So Lee, tell us a bit, if anyone wants to come and find out more about you, let us know. I have put a link in. I know you've got a webinar coming up. Let us know, Lee.
So if you'd like to learn more about the concepts around mindset that myself and Emma have been discussing here today, I'd like to invite you. I'm running a webinar next week, Thursday. It's happening at 9 a.m. UK, and it's called How to Clear the Blocks to Your Abundance. Now, on your property journey, if you're feeling there's something that's holding you back, or there's some blocks in terms of the receptiveness of the people you're speaking to, the landlords, the investors, if you're feeling that things are not just happening as quickly and as smoothly as you'd like it to, in this webinar next week, I'm really going to get into a concept and an idea, and I'm going to uncover something for you in terms of what is actually holding you back. Now, there's 3 key points that I hope to communicate, or that I'm going to communicate next week. I'm going to firstly show you what the root cause of your current results are. So whether those results are income, relationships, sales results, business results, and then I'm going to show you how to change it. Number 2, I'm going to introduce you into the 3 different income earning strategies. There's only 3 ways that we can earn money. And then I'm going to show you which is the best one to use. And number 3, I'm going to give you a strategy to turn your annual income into a monthly income. And it's really powerful if what we share in here resonates with you. I encourage you, click on the link Emma's dropped in Clubhouse here or on Facebook. Click on the link, go register and join us. It's really going to be a powerful 1 hour together that you don't want to miss. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks, Emma.
Oh, that's amazing. I've just popped it in the chat as well. Well, if I should hope everyone will leave here today and feel obligated that everyone that they meet go out of your way to do one of these 9 things and see how it makes you feel, because I think that is what, when you're listening to something like this so specifically, I think you can kind of sort of think, oh, and go into yourself and sort of think, oh, well, what will people think of me if I'm walking around beaming with a big smile on my face? They might think I'm crazy, but actually when you turn it around and take an active participation in leaving other people with this impression of increase, I think you will find that you end up getting more from it than you could ever imagine. And I think that is, it's almost like a, karma, isn't it? It's the more you give out, the more you get. Now, it might not be in the way that you expect. So a bit like I was saying, if I let somebody in, I used to kind of look and see if they said thank you. It doesn't matter if they say thank you. I just did that act at that time, and something will come back to me at some point. I'm not looking for it. I just know it will happen. It's a natural law. It's going to go ahead. So I really hope that, I feel like this session is a bit like playing it forward, that this today will be a path out there to go out and help all of us, even if we only do it to one person, 5 people, 10 people today, and they think, you know what, that person really smiled at me today and that made a big difference to my life. I'm going to do that to somebody else. I think that can only be such a hugely powerful thing. And I just wanted to say, Lee, because there's lots of people that said, Ali said this is a really important lesson to remind yourself that we're here to serve and not to make. Your service will bring you what you need. He said, this is a gift, not for you to enjoy. Your gift is service to others. We said mindset is a powerful thing, really helps to reinforce these principles. And Dee has said, this was fantastic. Thank you so much. So again, Lee, as always, I really, really appreciate your time sharing this here with us now. And thank you so much to everyone else. As I said, just as a reminder, we will be this will go out onto YouTube, so it's Emma Howitt Pure Abodes, and I am back on Monday, and I'm going to be talking to some more people about supported living if you'd missed out on that. So that's really fantastic. So again, thanks for joining us, and I will sign out, but Lee, if you just wait 2 seconds, and then brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.